YouTube channel for all of an eternity. So don't panic, the cameras are on us. On the stage, you can't be seen. Unless you've got a really distinctive back of your head and you're here with somebody you shouldn't be, you should probably move. But other than that, we are all good.
Right, our first panel today comes to us from across time and space in the longest-running television show in the country, Doctor Who.
Yes, so it's time to celebrate the second Doctor this year. So our guests today include 3 people who knew that Doctor very well.
Yeah, we've got Fraser Hines as Jamie McCrimmon, Wendy Padbury as Zoe Harriet, and Michael Troughton, son of the Doctor, and also the Doctor himself in the Big Finish Productions. Give them a big warm welcome, please.
Yeah, come on. Come on through. They promised us they were going to cartwheel onto stage.
Yeah, welcome to the seaside.
Have you looked outside? I mean, it's bright, but it's not.
Yeah, there was.
Quite
We
beach
thought it was
weather.
snow actually when we had breakfast this morning.
Oh.
So yeah, but we've had some people setting up at 3 o'clock in the morning apparently. So I don't know what it was like back then, but there you go. Right, so we've got.
We
a
did
bit of
our
a
ice creams, but the bloody seagulls ran away and nicked it out of my hand.
So we've got a bit of a tradition that we always start off with something called the quick fire round, where we have some little either or sort of questions, favourite this, favourite that, just to sort of loosen things up and get you going. Do you want to get us started?
Yeah, so we're going to start with our real one, the one we ask every year. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
There you go.
What about down there? Am I the only cat? I'm always the only cat
No,
person.
I'm a cat lover. I say that he's a bit old and ginger and decrepit as my cat, so maybe
I
not.
thought you meant me there, but I'm getting that way. But
Dogs are more friendly. Dogs are more friendly.
I know, but they sort of bark and jump at you and.
If you locked your wife and your dog in the boot of the car for 2 hours, you open the boot. Who's looking forward to seeing you? The dog.
The worry about that is, how often did you lock your wife in the back of a car?
That's a question for later.
No, lock your wife or walk your dog.
Right, so I presume we've all had some sort of guest house or hotel breakfast today. So brown sauce or red sauce?
Red
sauce. Brown sauce.
Ooh, the raw brown
I'm the
sauce and the
minority.
other.
Go, ketchup, it's got to be ketchup. Sure.
Ketchup
to be
at the
ketchup.
back.
Ketchup, but only with chips. But then I love chips. I wouldn't have sauce at all for breakfast. Would you?
Maybe. You stir it in the fried egg.
Oh, I like that, yeah. In an omelette, yeah, absolutely.
That was a delightful noise. I like that. Okay, so, right, so if you're cheeky snacks, would you go sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Savoury.
Yes, savoury. Yeah.
And can you be more specific? Is there anything particular from the
Cheese on toast.
Oh, nice.
Cashew nuts.
Nice.
I think cheese, anything with cheese, actually.
Yeah.
Cheese.
Anything with cheese.
Sweet.
I love cheese.
Sweet or savoury down there? Oh, a lot of love for savoury, yeah.
Is it all about the cheese? Yeah. Okay.
Right, how about your favourite place to go on holiday?
Bangkok.
Country?
Wherever you like.
Bangkok. I love Thailand.
Yeah. Australia? Perth?
Nice.
Arizona, America.
Nice.
A dude ranch. I went 2 or 3 holidays playing cowboys and Indians. Yeah.
Like in the heat then, all 3 of you.
The first time I thought, I've got sweating. But no, it was a nice dry heat. You never got sweaty and hot at all.
Oh, fabulous. So this is going to be a bit of a weird one, but it's for this panel specifically. So last year we had Colin Baker and Terry Malloy on stage, who were adamant that the only footwear to wear is Crocs. To the point that they will only ever not wear Crocs if they are being filmed and their feet are in shot. So Crocs, yes or no?
No.
No.
Yes.
Do you know what? I did.
No, I wear them at home.
I did a convention once where you had to put things into room 101. And the one I put in one of the ones I put in was Crocs, and there was and it was because of Colin. He wore the most beautiful linen suit, and then on his feet were the most disgusting pair of Crocs. And when we were in America, he said, we're going shopping, and I said, I'm not coming, because I know where you're going to take me. You're going to take me to a Croc shop, and I'm not going to do it.
I don't think he's going to be in a subtle suit now. Both of them have taken to trying to outdo each other in the loud trouser department. It was quite spectacular.
And we got one more new one for this year. That this wasn't mine, but I'm interested to hear what you've got with it. Favourite smell? Oh, we foxed them with that one.
Quite like...
Sweaty horse.
I beg your pardon? A sweaty horse.
No, I keep horses, and I just love that smell that it brings back, or maybe the sugar beet that they eat. It's lovely. When I made their feed at night, I thought, oh.
Does that have a bit of a Emmerdale Farm crossover as well?
Oh. I like the smell of fresh coffee or baking bread.
Nice.
Bread in the oven. It's lovely.
Freshly mown grass.
Freshly mown grass. Nice.
Oh, yeah. Such a lovely smell.
Very spring that as well, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant. I think that's probably about it for that, isn't it? I reckon.
I would say so.
So I just wanted to just indulge myself for a moment because, Fraser, you were born in Horsforth.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And so was I.
Really?
Although they don't have a hospital there anymore, apparently.
They used to have a plaque. They used to have a plaque where I was born in Horsforth, and a dentist removed it.
Really? Yeah. Oh, I didn't get one, which was...
A dentist. Obviously don't go to dentists, do you? Sorry about this, folks.
And the other thing I wanted to ask was, because every time Emmerdale Farm came on, because I was a little bit young for the Second Doctor's era, either my mum or my great-granny or my granny would say, oh, it's Fraser Hines. He lives down the road in Little London, because we used to live in Rawdon.
Oh, yes.
And then there was always followed by, and he used to be in Doctor Who. So...
Because years later, I moved back to Rawdon, to Little London. When Emmerdale started getting longer and longer, and the contract got longer, I thought, well, I bought a little cottage in London Street, in Little London.
If you if you've got a triangle between sort of like Leeds and Bradford, an equilateral triangle, Rawdon's kind of at the top of the triangle.
It's on the main Skipton Road out of Leeds.
We have an airport down the road. It's cool.
Always foggy.
So there you are, from being reminded all the time. You're on the same stage now.
It's a great moment for me. Thank you.
So, Fraser, staying with you, you hold the record as the longest-running companion in Doctor Who. Now, Jamie was a Scot from the 18th century, and as we've established, you're a Yorkshireman. But am I right in believing your mum is Scottish?
Yeah, that's where I got the Scottish accent from. My mother. Yeah.
So, what was it like wearing the full kilt and the regalia sort of week in and week out?
Oh, I didn't mind at all, because I used to wear a kilt when I was a young boy up in Scotland, staying in my grandma's house. So it wasn't new to me. It wasn't sort of, oh, I don't want to do this. It was just part of your heritage, I guess.
And then I wanted to sort of take you back, really, all three of you, because you've all presumably got slightly different perspectives on the Second Doctor's era. As I understand it, Fraser, when you were first brought onto the show, they wanted to change the dynamic between the companion and Patrick Troughton, because there were a couple of companions who'd be carried over from William Hartnell's era. Tell us a little bit about how you got the role, because I understand it wasn't the first time you'd auditioned for Doctor Who, was it?
No, I auditioned for Ben, which I'd forgotten all about. But my Cockney accent was not very good. Hello there, Doc. Hello, Princess. Yeah, know what I mean? So I didn't get the part. Well, I'm glad I didn't, because, about a year later, Innes Lloyd called me for a cup of tea and said, Sean Sutton, head of drama, says you can do a Scottish accent. I said, yeah. He said, oh, well, good. Are you working? No. Well, let's leave it at that. And I got home, and my agent rang and said, oh, you start wardrobe fittings in 2 weeks' time, sort of thing.
Those were the days.
Yes.
And Wendy, tell us a little bit about the way you got the role and how you came in to join Fraser later.
It was just a normal audition process. Lots of girls applied, obviously, via their agents. And that there was a short list and a short list, etc. Until I think there were 6 of us in the end.
Did you read? Did you go and read the script?
What we had to do, I didn't read the script, but on the last,
Is that dead as well?
on the last,
there you go.
there we are, on the short list, to 6 of us, we were given a piece of paper with 6 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Each line of dialogue was a different emotion, and you had to just stand on a spot at Television Centre, and all they filmed were your eyes.
Your eyes, gosh.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, obviously, Zoe was a very competent individual, a mathematician from a space station, but a little bit of a screamer.
Do you know, I used to think I didn't scream. I used to think, oh no, I didn't scream. No, all this screaming. And then I watched a few episodes and thought, oh, no, I do. I really do scream a lot.
But I'm wondering if that was just a little bit of the time, though, but having revisited her through Big Finish, has there been a change in the character, or has there been a decision made to keep her that way?
Well, there's not been much screaming in any Big Finish story, that's for sure. And also, as some of the stories are older, so, you know, the need for scream no longer exists.
Excellent.
Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about the dynamic. These days, a lot of actors talk a little bit about having input into their characters. Back in the 60s, did you get much input into how both your characters were portrayed, or was it very much, here's the script, do this, do that? And also the way that your characters developed. I mean, how much input did you get?
Not really, because we were working so hard. You were doing, say, 4 episodes, and they'd already written the next lot, and you might be doing, on your day off, filming for the next story. So you didn't sit around and talk and say, oh, I think Jamie should do this, and I think my character. You never, you just got the scripts, and that's it. And you couldn't say, well, I don't. You could say, I wouldn't say this, as a character, but
Exactly that.
And was that a similar experience for you, presumably, as well?
Yeah. There wasn't time to sort of go deeply into, but you could say, I know Zoe would not say that or say that like that.
And were the producers and writers fairly...
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
okay.
pretty good, weren't they, most
yeah.
of them?
Although Patrick and I did sneak in quite a few times. Look at the size of that thing, Doctor. yes, Jamie, it is a big one, isn't it? So we kept sneaking that in quite a lot.
Do you see what I had to put up with back in the 1960s? It was hell.
So, but Michael, you were, was it 11 when your dad became the
12,
Doctor?
11, yeah.
Did you ever visit him on set?
Yes. Yeah, the first time I met Fraser, I was in shorts, and it was on the set of Web of Fear. Oh, wow. And, the one with the underground. That set was incredible. It was so well built. It was beautiful. And I remember, I don't think Fraser remembers this, but I remember him taking care of me, finding a seat, and me sitting down and watching it from a distance. It was really exciting, to see. 11-year-old, and your dad says, oh, you know what's happening next? I'm playing Doctor Who. It was the most amazing experience.
This must have been particularly exciting for you as well, because I understand you were a big astronomy and science fan.
Absolutely, I was. Both my father and I loved, the stars, and we loved, using telescopes and things like that. In fact, at the beginning of my life, I wanted to be a scientist, and it was only sort of when I got into my teens I thought of acting. But science was really big.
There's quite a big connection, because Claire was reminding me earlier, Darragh O'Brien, Ben Miller, Brian May, lots of sort of
It
links
is
to
odd,
acting
isn't
and
it?
science.
At the moment, I'm taking an astrophysics degree, believe it or not.
We're going to ask you,
Which
so how's that
I'm
going?
really enjoying it. Oh, yeah, I'm almost I'm almost completed it, and I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, the maths is, it's tricky, but I'm getting there. Yeah, good fun.
Zoe was an astrophysicist. Are you after her part?
I can never take over Zoe. My voice can actually can get high. Yes.
And the sparkly dress.
all right.
Fine.
I think my legs are rather good as well. Perhaps I could.
Absolutely.
Now, Wendy and Fraser, I understand you both worked together again on Emmerdale at one point, didn't you? There's this funny thing in fandom where, you get two actors who work together on a beloved show, and then they pop up together on another show, and you kind of wonder how it's going to go and whether there's going to be any sort of like Easter egg-like moments or anything. Now, how did that go, and what was the experience like?
I think I only did a couple of episodes or something. That was lovely, but we'd also worked together
In Seasons of the Year.
in a different production.
Yeah. For Granada Television, about this house. And every episode was 100 years later.
Yeah.
And each family was 100 years later. And that was great fun.
That was lovely. Yeah,
That
the
was set
start of the show was
yeah.
stately home. It was lovely. Yeah.
And it was set in Georgian times, so you had the ringlets and the,
Yeah.
not crinolines.
Well,
but
that's how I knew you were in it, because I was at Wig Creations having a wig fitted, and there was a curtain between these little cubicles, and I could hear somebody talking, and I thought, I know that voice. And I pulled the curtain back, and you were there, and I went, woo! And what are you doing? And then we discovered
we had a lovely time on that.
we had a lovely time.
Thora Heard was great, wasn't
Yeah.
she?
Harrogate, we filmed.
Yeah, we
most of
did.
that, yeah.
At, what's it? Not Rodley Castle.
No,
It's just outside Harrogate. A big, forgotten the name of it now.
I can't remember.
Yeah, big sort of stately home. Yeah.
So,
And I'd worked, funny enough, I'd worked with Debbie on a stage play, Doctor in the House, after she had left many, many years. So she was playing this horrible little nurse. Sometimes you can work with somebody and then you never work with them or even see them again. But, it was good.
and obviously you prized your roles last year for the Doctor Who special as well.
Oh, that was great.
Did you need convincing to do that, or was that a no-brainer?
Well, Fraser did it.
Yeah.
I did a little bit, only because I have been in front of a camera for 40 years or something, 35 years,
Yeah.
and it made me a little bit nervous. And Russell said, it's 6 minutes, surely. And I said, but will I be able to remember lines? He said, it's like riding a bike. It's not. It wasn't. So learning lines was a struggle. But yes, it was absolutely fabulous, wasn't it? We had a great
It
time.
was like 16 years, whatever years had gone.
Disappeared.
Yeah, because Wendy did say to me, he said, on the set, Fraser, you do realise it. I said, of course you have. You've done Big Finish. Yes, I'm reading that. I'm not learning. I'm reading Big Finish. But it never leaves you. No.
And Wendy, you were talking about obviously that gap in your acting career, but you did a bit of talent spotting, becoming an agent, what have you? And I gather you discovered a young Matt Smith along the way. Is that right?
When I was an agent, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him at the National Youth Theatre because that's part of an agent's job, is to go out and see drama school productions, etc. And he was fantastic. And I said to him, if you want to be an actor, I'm an agent, and I'd be very interested in representing you. And he said, I do. Yes, I do. And so he came in, basically came in to see us, and the rest is history.
Very good. Now, I'll just take you back to the end of the second Doctor's era, and you might be able to offer a perspective on this as well. But I gather the producers wanted your characters to stay on, as a lot of companies do, into a transition into season 6. But then you all kind of came to the idea that you're going to depart together. How did that all go down and develop and so on and so forth?
It's very difficult to leave a show when you're in time. Oh, that's better. Yeah, thank you.
Very smooth, very smooth.
You take your oddie finger at the ugh.
Go whack those microphones against the wall in between the next panel.
I'm getting my own back. Yeah. No, I didn't want to leave, but my agent said, "Oh, darling, you've done 3 years now. You go back to films," because I'd started my career in films. And Patrick's wife said, "Oh, no, you should be doing grown-up television now. You're children's television. You've done 3 years of it." And I say that if we hadn't had those two women nagging us, you would have never heard of David Tennant. We'd still be in the TARDIS now. You'd have to shoot us to get us out, because we're having fun. We're having great fun. Not once did you ever drive to work thinking, "Oh, I hope Wendy's going to, I hope so-and-so, I hope he hasn't had a row with you." You just drove to work. Couldn't wait to get to work. It really was.
And then you think years later, you'd be spending weekends talking about your time there.
It is bizarre,
Bizarre,
isn't it?
yeah. Doing a job and then years later still talking about that role and those times. And
I wish I'd kept my kilt and the shirt and the boots, But when I finished, I never thought 40 years later, "Oh, I wish I'd kept my," you never thought.
No, I wish I'd kept my sparkly catsuit.
Yes.
Or any of those costumes,
Yeah.
actually.
And of course, you've kind of alluded to sort of reprising the characters, and we talked about last year. But of course, there was the 5 Doctors, and then of course there was the 2 Doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that feel? The 2 Doctors for me was really my first introduction to Jamie as somebody who was younger. You talked about whether it was as easy as riding a bike going back into these roles, but how were those experiences?
Oh, yeah, it was great, because Patrick and I were looking forward to seeing each other, after 60. I did 5 Doctors, which I was supposed to be with Patrick all the way through, and Emmerdale Farm wouldn't release me. And so John Nathan Turner said, "Well, Fraser, I want you in. If you get 2 days off, I'll write you in." So I rang him up and said, "I've got next Wednesday, Thursday off." He said, "Right, fine." And that night, a fax came through, and there's these lines, "Oh, the Brigadier's right. No, What? Is that what it is? Oh, but I wanted to see Patrick. I thought, normally I would say, "I can't be asked to drive to London for 3 lines." So, and of course, Patrick and I had just had fun, and the 3 of us leapt on each other, we rolled on the floor, and John Pertwee was, "Sarah Jane, tickle me like, why aren't you, we just had great fun.
Yeah.
And then JNT said, "Fraser, it was like you'd been in a prop cupboard with the 2 of them for 16 years. Do you want to do more?" Yeah.
And Michael, you starred in a special as well, the Christmas special with Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite an interesting experience, really, because, I hadn't been on a Doctor Who set, as I say, since I was 11. And walking onto that was amazing, because I assumed it was just going to be green screen, and all color, the computerized stuff. But it wasn't. There was a full-sized ice cat, huge thing with, those caterpillar track things in the studio.
Yeah.
And you walked into the set, and it was absolutely huge. It had monitors, it had switches to play with. There was hardly any green screen. The only green screen I can remember was the Father Christmas sledge, doing all the, whizzing through the sky.
But
Yeah. The big thing on that, though, was Peter Capaldi, because I'd worked with him a lot. We were really quite good mates. And I knew he was a complete obsessive with Doctor Who when he was younger. And nothing had changed at all. The first time we met, it wasn't, "Oh, hello, Michael, how are you?" It was, "Tell me what it was like on Web of Fear. I really need to know." And he was constantly asking questions. He was a lovely guy. He's a real gentleman, an absolute gentleman, a brilliant actor. He did a good job, I think. So, yeah, it was great fun. And it was quite emotional, actually, because I went onto the set and, there was a sort of tear in my eye as I started to begin, because, the memories all came flooding back. It was really cool. It was very good. Good fun.
and has he sort of made your brain about, because there's still missing episodes from the second Doctor's time,
Sure are, yeah.
Was he picking your brain to sort of, do you remember any of the bits that are no longer out there or are yet to be discovered? Or
I mean, I remember them all because we used to watch them, absolutely. We were there at 5 o'clock or whatever. I do remember, Fraser was talking about, when you stopped, The big thing I think with Dad was, there were two reasons why he wanted to stop, and that was he was completely knackered, because the speed at which you did everything was ridiculous. I mean, it was, a bit like doing a sitcom in the old days, where you'd rehearse, 5 days, you'd do a tech, and then you'd do the next, and then again you're on filming on Sunday. So that was the first reason. I think the second reason was he had this terrible thing about being typecast. And, I don't think he needed to worry, because he was so well established before that. Yeah, but he had this big thing, I mustn't do it more than 3 years. And it's become a thing with the doctors now.
I remember him writing in white postcards. Do you remember, in the green room, just before we were finishing, saying, "Dear whoever, just to let you know, I'll be leaving Doctor Who on this date, and I will be available for work." And I said, surely you don't have to do that.
He was so proactive,
Surely.
yeah. I mean, he knocking on doors, in the days that you could, a television centre, and saying, "Oh, you got any work?" He was very proactive like that. Yeah.
Just before we throw it down to these guys for some questions, we talked a little bit about Big Finish. What was it like playing the second Doctor and getting to reprise your dad's role? That must have been a lovely moment.
It was great, because to begin with, when Nick Briggs phoned up, I thought, is this a good idea? Is it going to be like, Son of Who playing Who, but, a gimmick? And the more I thought about it, I thought, right, I'll do it once and see what the reaction is. And the reaction was so lovely and so positive that I felt confident enough to carry on. What I didn't want to do was really do a mimic of him. I just wanted to get that energy and those wonderful moments. He'd cough and he'd forgotten his lines, essentially. And I think I'm really enjoying it now.
With that microphone now. Oh, there we go. Thanks, guys. Did I read somewhere in my notes that you did a really good Patrick Troughton impression, or am I imagining that phrase?
No, I used to do Patrick before Michael came on board. Yeah, I did it. My first ever Big Finish was Helican Prime, and I read Jamie with a Scottish accent and the Doctor just as a posh voice like that. And I did the first 2 pages, and then Nigel Fairs, who was directing, said, "Fraser, I'm just going to listen to the first 2 pages over in case there's any glitches." So I started to do it as Patrick, and he went, "You sound like Patrick Troughton." I said, "Yeah, when I do this sort of look at the size of that thing, yes." He said, "Do it again." I said, "Oh, I can't sustain it. I can't keep it going. Just try it." So I did it, and he went, "That's it," and that was stuck. But then I used to ring up when I got a script. I said, "I'm getting paid for Jamie. If Patrick was alive today, yes, Fraser, we'd pay Patrick, but we're not paying you."
He wanted a double bubble.
Yes, I wanted a double bubble. Because I'm doing twice as much work. And in the end, when they said Michael's going to come on board, I thought, oh, thank God for that, I've only got to do one part now. Yeah.
You've been involved in Big Finish as well. What's your experiences? Nearly everybody we talk to who's come to Sci-Fi Scarborough just love the way that they've enabled you to continue, the role in that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. All, isn't it, to be able to continue. And actually, I think it was partly in the hiatus of Doctor Who, when after Sylve and before it came back, it was those audios that kept the whole thing alive, I think. I mean, I might be wrong about that, but I have a feeling that certainly contributed to the fans not giving up on the show. So it's brilliant to be going back and reprising the role. Yeah.
Right, well, let's throw it down to you guys. It's always great when it's working, I go, booming across half of the East Coast. Now, somewhere down there is Claire. So if you've got a question for the guys, stick your hand up and Claire will chase after you with a microphone. Don't be shy, folks. Where have you gone, Claire? I can't see you.
I'm at the back over here. I actually have a quick question for the audience. A quick general knowledge one. So in the episode The Mind Robber, Fraser was actually replaced temporarily by a different actor when he had chicken pox. Do we know who the actor who replaced him for that day or two
Oh, we got
was?
hand down the front.
Yeah, hand down here, look, yeah.
Give it a shout. Yes, Hamish
Well
Wilson.
done, Hamish Wilson. Nice one.
We have a proper Whovian amongst us. Right, do we have some questions? Hand down the bottom there. That up my way down. My microphone's playing.
Comic cons. Do you all like coming to Comic cons, and what do you think?
Oh, yeah, I love coming to Comic Cons.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's nice to meet, sounds very cliched, it's nice to meet the people who actually watch the show and ideas and stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, about how many young people there are, because there's a sort of misconception that young people won't engage with anything back in from our day, black and white and wobbly sets, etc., etc. But it's simply not true, I don't think. We meet really young people who are loving the show right from the beginning.
I think black and white is, to me, it's still scarier than colour, because with black and white, you can come out the shadows in black, but with colour, it's not really sort of dark black.
I like black and white. Yeah.
I think the most terrifying moment was the one band in Australia where I think it was something from the deep, and they had all the foam in the studio.
Oh, Fury from Deep.
And those guys that were breathing, you remember with those faces? Yeah. Well, that absolutely scared me, Liz. Really bad.
They'd just seen my contract.
Okay. There we go, that's working. There we go.
Besides from Patrick Troughton, who else is your favourite Doctor?
Oh, controversial.
Is this being recorded?
I have read
I don't
quotes
know.
that you've made, Wendy, about David Tennant.
Sorry?
So I have read quotes that you've made about David Tennant,
Really?
Wendy.
You see, I really need to keep my mouth shut at times. I don't know what I've said about David Tennant. What have I said? Apart from the fact that he was gorgeous. Yeah. No, he was a great Doctor. But I also love Chris Eccleston. I really love Chris Eccleston, actually, as a Doctor. Of course, I love Matt, who had a slight quirkiness of Pat about him, I always thought. But they're all great, aren't they? They all bring something unique and different to the character, I think.
I'd like to work with Peter Capaldi. I was doing a play in Cardiff, and stage door was a message, "Oh, Peter Capaldi has heard you're in town, Fraser. Do you want to come to the studio tomorrow? He'd love to meet you." So I went to the studio the next day. "Oh, Fraser, how are you? Oh, terrific, lovely, smashing. He said, "Right, I'm just going to do the scene." And he went away, and I said, "Well, thanks, Peter." He said, No, stay. And then he chased me around the TARDIS with his camera, and I chased him around with my camera. Then he did this scene, and Richard Talalay, the director, cut, and he said, "Right, see him," and he pointed to me. "If it wasn't for him and his doctor, we wouldn't be working here today." And they gave me a round of applause. And now a lot of people, when they take over a part, they go, "Yes, that's the way you did it in the old days. We do it like better." He was so lovely to say that. Lovely.
I totally agree with you. He's a lovely man. Yeah. I think the thing about the Doctor is that whenever there's a transbobulation, as my dad used to call it, the next actor takes these tiny little bits from the characterization that's gone before, and I think that's what makes it interesting, especially with Matt Smith. As you were saying, there was a lot of dad in there. And you can see it. You can see all these tiny little nuances because they're such good actors. That's the key, I think. Being a good Doctor, you've got to really be a good actor, good character actor.
I know I went straight to Chris Eccleston, but obviously my favourite Doctor is Pat. I mean, I know I'm biased, but the more I see when I'm doing various things like behind the sofa and things, and you're watching different the more I see, the more wonderful I thought he was, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were very lucky to choose, well, not lucky, but they were very clever to choose him because he was such an experienced character actor. He put 100% into everything he did. I remember working with him on a series called Angels, which was, a bit like Casualty only a long time ago with nurses. And I hadn't realised how much energy he put into his rehearsal period. He was so focused and so concentrated. And that was the reason he was so good. He had this ability to be able to, get hold of a character in rehearsal and hone it. And he was, in a way, he was addicted to acting. There was an addiction to him, and that's what made him good, I think.
Okay, well, there's one more question down here, wasn't there? It was yourself, wasn't it? I did promise I meant way down. There we go.
This one's for Michael. Just curious. Your dad was the doctor and very, very good as well. Did it seem a bit odd looking at him on screen? That's my dad. That's the guy that I eat a meal with, gets me up, Was it a bit odd, or was it, oh, that's my dad?
I used to love it.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't, because I'd grown up in a sort of acting world, it didn't faze me that I saw my dad on television at all. It was him doing a part, and I used to, in my later years, I used to phone him up and we used to chat about each other's performances. Because I only really got to know my dad later, in his latter years, really well, because we used to live very close to one another. And we used to exchange all sorts of notes. He'd say, well, you were crap in that, weren't you? He was very honest as well. He gave really good feedback, and I would do the same to him. So, no, I didn't find it funny at all, or odd. Is that what you're saying? You found it a bit odd?
A little bit strange, knowing
Yes, a
that your
little
dad
bit
up there,
strange, yeah. I sometimes find it strange watching him now, especially in the Hammer movies where he played those horrible sort of dribbling helpers, I do find that a little bit strange because he's not here. But when he was alive, no, not at all. I would just embrace it. It was great, especially when I was younger, of course. Go to school and go, ha ha ha, my dad's on television, he's Doctor Who. Which was great. It was good fun.
Thank you for your time.
See if it's working. Just see if we've got any more hands down there. There's one at the back, actually, Claire.
Is that? That'll
Yes,
probably
we've
be
got-
our
we've got
last
one.
question of the day. Where's the hand? Oh, I see it, right at the back.
Yeah, there
Okie
you
dokie.
go.
Hiya. So, what was I going to ask? Wendy, Fraser, obviously Patrick Troughton came back for the Three Doctors, the 10th anniversary special. Were you guys asked to come back?
3 Doctors. I don't know. Honestly, I can't remember. When was the 3 Doctors?
It was alongside William Hartnell and John Pertwee. It's William Hartnell's last episode.
What sort of time period would that
Was
have
that
The
the one when he
70s,
was on
70s.
The
screen?
70s.
Well,
Yeah.
William.
Oh, no. Well, then I was very heavily pregnant in 1973. So if I was asked, I would have said no.
I was heavily into Emmerdale Farm, and I was asked, and of course Emmerdale wouldn't release me because I'd only just done a year of it. We started in 72, and I just said, any chance of a no, because we've got all the stories written, so that was it. But we've got a lovely story about the 5 Doctors, your costume in the 5 Doctors.
What, a bubble wrap? Everybody, it was voted the worst Doctor Who costume ever on some site, and I defend my bubble wrap, mainly because when I got to the studio and took off my coat, the designer said, oh no, nobody told me, and I was, again, I seem to have been pregnant a lot. I was pregnant, and he'd got me a slinky cat suit, of course. No time to do anything much about that. So he had this brainwave, which I thought was a brainwave, of covering me in bubble wrap and just making a big, puffy skirt to cover the little bump, which I thought was a stroke of genius. The only problem is, we all know you can't walk past bubble wrap without popping it. So it started off as a big, fluffy skirt in the morning, and by the time we came to actually filming, it was as flat as a pancake. You could walk past a cameraman and there'd be pop, pop. Everybody just pop this skirt. So, but I do defend the decision of a bit of bubble wrap.
Right, any more questions from the floor? Let's have a look around. I think we're probably, where's Clegg? Oh, we've got one over here.
Okay. One down here.
A familiar face.
I know, right? Mr. Adams, there we go. Drop it in behind you, love. There you go.
Question for Michael. What was it like working with Rick Mail on The New Statesman?
Oh, God bless him. What a loss. I mean, you know, the way he went, he went well before his time. It was so, so sad. I think he was a genius. He's a comedy genius, really. And not only a comedian, but a brilliant actor. He was absolutely wonderful. And he wasn't like, you know, he wasn't like the character that you saw. He was an incredibly, he would be very precise about what he was doing. He was just the loveliest guy you could meet, to be honest. And one of the few actors I've worked with, and comedians especially, that were so generous. He was so generous in the fact that some comedians and some stars, they like to be the star. And they will say, no, I don't think you can do that because you're getting too many laughs. He never, ever did that. In fact, I learned so much off Rick Mail about how to time certain comedy. He was just, you know, he hadn't learned that. That was instinctive. Everything he did was instinctive. And he was an extraordinary man. He really was. And I cannot tell you the amount of fun we had, you know, with all those stunts we did, you know, my burning bum and being thrown through windows. And it was great fun. Really good fun, yeah. He was a wonderful man. That's all I can say, really. I really miss him.
Just to finish, there you go. Just tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the moment, what your next plans are, and so on and so forth.
We're all going to Birmingham for a convention. Yeah. Yeah.
Big Finish stuff, but we're not allowed to
we're
talk
doing
about
big
that.
Finish stuff. We're not allowed to talk about that. Yeah, I do audiobooks in a home studio at the moment, so I'm sort of snowed under by lots of romance, rather fruity romance, actually.
Oh, we might ask you about that tomorrow.
In fact, yeah, my wife has put her fingers in her ears sometimes when the fruity bit comes up. It's very funny. She goes, no, I don't want to hear that. Don't want to hear that. No, please close the door. So no, seriously though, it's really good fun reading audio. You've done audiobooks? Yeah, they're great fun to do, and you know, it's become quite popular as well. So.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an absolute delight having you all on stage, and they're back tomorrow, folks. So if you've got more questions, we may be looking to your audiobook thoughts in a little bit more detail then. So, Claire, I think you just wanted to mention the raffle just before you
Yes, so just quickly before everybody goes, we are, as ever, running the grand raffle, which will be drawn tomorrow night. Most of our team are out collecting prizes from all of the store holders at the moment. We have got some of our beach balls on stage. We'll probably sort it out tomorrow, but we'll ask our lovely guests if they will sign them. So you might be a chance to win one of our lovely beach balls signed by everybody who's here this year. We'll get the artists involved as well. That's normally a bit of carnage. So this year's charities, we've kept it very, very Scarborough-based. So money is going to be shared between the RNLI. Obviously, they've got a big... the boats here, which all the volunteers go out to St Catherine's Hospice, and we talked about Jerry, who did this before, and he finished his days there, unfortunately. So, you know, and then also to Lily's Reptile Rescue. I know who are here this weekend, but we've known Dave for many, many years. So stage right, our team is selling raffle tickets. They're £1 each. So please go and give generously, and we'll get some prizes lined up for you all.
There you go. So can we have a round of applause for our Doctor Who panel? Wendy Padbury, Fraser Hines, Michael Troughton. Thank you, guys.